Thousands of people immigrate to America each year in search of a new life. Many people come to follow their dreams, but not without countless hardships. Dr. Ram Thawani and his wife are examples of immigrants who have struggled tremendously but have ended up with success.
My mom and dad, they came here. They were sponsored by my mother's brother. And because of family issues, when they came, they didn't have a lot of support.
They weren't anticipating all of the challenges that they faced. For their first 5 years living in America, they were in poverty. They had trouble finding jobs because their Indian education was disregarded by the American medical system. In order to receive a job in their field, they had to assimilate to American culture by redoing their residency and retaking all of the required exams. Through preserving their Indian culture, they managed to overcome their difficulties. The Thawanis are a prime example of Indian immigrants who have managed to preserve their culture while adapting to the American lifestyle.
How do Indian immigrants coming to the United States balance preserving their native culture while assimilating to American cultural norms? The debate over cultural preservation versus assimilation for Indian Americans in the United States plays out along Devon Avenue in Chicago for over 60 years. Indians first started immigrating to Chicago in 1965, when laws were passed lifting restrictions on Asian immigrants. This was called the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. Indians left for financial, professional, and educational reasons, as well as social opportunities. The main push factor that caused people to emigrate out of India was war. In 1947, India and Pakistan split because of religious and cultural conflicts between Islam and Hinduism. This was the first war that occurred between the two countries. In 1962, a war occurred between India and China called the Sino-Indian War. Several events led up to this war, but the main conflict was over their shared border. In 1965, a second war occurred between Pakistan and India. This war was fought over the status of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. These two states shared borders with both India and West Pakistan. To this day, there is still tension between the countries. Many Indians were scared of the fighting and did not want to be drafted or involved in the war, and therefore emigrated out of India. There were many pull factors that lured Indians to America. Many Indians came to leave poverty behind. Others came because of the job opportunities. Mostly, Indians immigrated to America in search of a better life. The American government was stable, and the environment and living conditions were much better than they were in India. Many of them decided to settle in Chicago because of the numerous job openings. Devon Avenue was developed just after World War I and has been a main settlement location for new immigrants to Chicago. On Devon, one may encounter many different cultures, such as Orthodox Jews, Russians, Pakistanis, Assyrians, and Indian Americans. In 1972, the first Indian shop opened on Devon, called Indian Sari Palace. While there were only a few thousand Indians living in the United States in the 1960s, by the mid-1980s, over 300,000 Indians had emigrated from India. Even though so many Indians came to America and began to adapt to the American culture, it was very important for them to keep their culture alive.
Culture is always important. In any country, that's what the values are. That's what you learn from day one.
Indian Americans have been maintaining their culture in America for over 60 years by preserving traditions, religions, and other aspects of their beliefs. However, Indian immigrants have faced many difficulties, such as poverty, racism, and rejection as they try to assimilate to the American customs and values.
They lived in shelters, and they dealt with poverty until my father got his first job. So they were literally living paycheck to paycheck. They had like one pot, one blanket, one pillow.
One way that Indians preserve their culture in America is by keeping traditions. Many Indians wear traditional clothing even when it's not a special occasion. Women normally wear a salwar kameez, a churidar, or a sari. Saris are for formal occasions, while salwar kameez and churidars are more casual. Men wear conservative Western clothing on a regular basis, and in the temple, they wear a kurta pajama. When men and women go to the temple, there are certain clothes that they are supposed to wear as an act of respect towards the gods. They are not allowed to touch the statues without wearing clean clothing as a sense of cleanliness and purity. Common religions include Hinduism, Jainism, and Sikhism. Each religion contains different practices and beliefs.
Our core mission is respect for life. What it means is you are not supposed to hurt anyone, either by saying something that would hurt your feelings, or by thinking ill of others, or even hurting you physically. That's what it is.
In Jainism, it is advised not to eat any form of meat, eggs, honey, or gelatin, and very strict Jainists don't even eat vegetables that came out of the ground because they believe many insects are killed in the process of removing the vegetables.
Additionally, Indians have brought many things to America, such as clothing, yoga, dance, home remedies, and spices. Cuisine plays an important role in Indian culture. It allows many communities to come together and learn about the various tastes of India. Common spices include garam masala, turmeric powder, cumin seeds, and red chili powder. There are several styles of cuisine in different parts of India. In the north, food consists of vegetables and a special Indian bread called roti. In the south, popular dishes include savory crepes and lentil soup.
Although Indian Americans have managed to preserve their beliefs, it has not been an easy journey. Many immigrants have faced racism, rejection, and other injustices. The American culture is very different from the Indian culture. It is very difficult for many Indians to learn English so quickly. Many aspects of American culture can be difficult to assimilate to. For Indians who don't live near or in an Indian community, it is very hard to find places that they feel comfortable in. Many immigrants also feel lonely and isolated because they left their friends and family behind.
Employment barriers are one of the main challenges that immigrants face. A highly educated doctor in India may have their credentials disregarded in America. Lack of American work experience also makes it difficult for Indians to find jobs. Because of this, many Indians turn to lower-income jobs such as taxi drivers, janitors, or fast food workers.
My mom and dad were medical doctors from India, and when they came to the U.S., they came with this feeling of so much like opportunity and that. But when they came here, their medical degrees were not recognized. They had to start all over again. I remember my mom telling me a story about how she was this very, very intelligent doctor back home. We call it a gold medalist in India. She was at the top of her class, and then coming here to be treated as if she had nothing, like that education was not valued at all. My mom and my dad talk about having to swallow their pride.
A majority of immigrants face some kind of discrimination, whether it's first or second generation.
I remember people mocking me, making fun of us, and it was a bunch of Indian people that I was hanging out with, and these girls were saying dot heads to us. Look at those dot heads.
While all of these challenges are very real, it is possible to overcome them. Immigration may be painful, but it can also be rewarding. Many Indian Americans have become prestigious doctors, professors, and even businessmen. Most immigrants agree that emigrating from India to America is an experience they do not regret. As Indians assimilate to the unfamiliar American culture, it is their responsibility to also maintain their cultural values and beliefs. Keeping these values and customs can make assimilating to a new culture much easier and more enjoyable.